Hello, Rockville Art League artists. Thank you for zooming in today. Um, you all know that we use Artwork Archive and our organization account with them, to manage the entries to all of our shows, our juried show, one that's coming up, and all the other shows we do. We also use Artwork Archive to manage not only to manage the entries, but to publish our virtual shows. And since we're back and present in the gallery, we use it to create our labels. And it's really cool that we have QR code labels. And everybody, if you could please mute yourself, that would be great. And I'm gonna mute some people right now as we go. Members have, you all as members have become very adept at working Artwork Archive for the submission of art. But I have gotten a number of questions about, what could Artwork Archive do more for our organization, and what could we do perhaps as an individual artist to take advantage of some of their capabilities. Carey is Artwork Archive's head of content and growth. She's also an artist in her own right. She's speaking to us from Denver, Colorado. We are so lucky that she's available, and we're so lucky that she's going to spend some time with us. She has about 60 minutes to present to us. So at some point in about 60 minutes, you'll have to log off. And at that time, I'd like to keep you in the Zoom so I can share, and Lisa will also help me share some things about our upcoming winter juried show. So without further ado, Katie, thank you again so much for speaking with us. And I'm turning it over to you.
Hi, thank you, Patrick and Lisa, and you all for coming today to take a little bit of time out of your Thursday night here. It looks a little bit darker over there than here, so I appreciate you guys tuning in and taking the time to learn a little bit more about how to both work with the Rockville Art Center Artwork Archive account, and then also how Artwork Archive helps artists to manage their own artwork and track their artwork. So I'm going to share my screen and get going. And I know, Patrick, you had a bit, and I'd love to hear more from you to get started about kind of how you heard about us and what you were doing before with your artist account, and then how you came to find and use the organization account for Rockville as well.
Okay, well, thank you. That's a nice setup. I actually heard about Artwork Archive for the very first time when I went to a conference of the Portrait Society of America, and several members of your team were there and sharing, what Artwork Archive can do for an individual. I established an account. I discovered that I wasn't using it very well. It wasn't the right time for me, so I let it lapse. And then about a year later, as I was, creating more work and had more things, available, and was actually making some sales, I knew that I had to have a better way to manage my art collection and my art inventory. So I went back on Artwork Archive, and the second time I absolutely loved it. I got rid of my Excel spreadsheets. I forgot about all the times I forgot what I had put in various shows. And this was prior to the pandemic. So let's now skip over to the Rockville Art League. We had been testing the waters on doing some things virtually. We were using something called jot forms to collect entries for our shows. But jot form was very limited. It couldn't create labels. It couldn't create virtual shows. It wasn't very organized, and it was costly. And when the pandemic hit, and we had to have a solution that would allow us to continue with virtual art shows and everything done, away from the manual processes that we used to have, I started paying more attention to an offering by Artwork Archive, which was an organization account. So we logged in. The price was good because they give us a nonprofit company discount. So it works out for us financially. And it integrated the labels, the virtual shows, the soliciting of art, plus a lot of other things that Katie's going to share right now. And we're so glad we found them.
Oh, I'm so happy you did too. And I love that story. You know, we work really hard to work with both artists and organizations, and especially throughout the pandemic, we're connecting with a lot of art organizations to help them bring their exhibitions online. And so just a little bit more about us and Artwork Archive before we begin. Okay, we're good. Okay, before we begin, is that we did begin about 13 years ago as one of the first art inventory platforms. And all of these features that are available now that help us bring our art online and work through the pandemic, but then also organize it, it all grew out of this initial kind of family need. One of our co-founders' mom, our co-founder John's mom is an oil painter out of Colorado Springs in Colorado here, and she was looking for a better way to manage and track her work. She had a hard drive crash. John, being a programmer, was a natural fit to just make something for his mom. So it was this great mother-son bonding experience. And from there, it has grown into something that has been a real need, and artists around the world in now more than 165 countries use it. Art organizations with huge corporate collections, Macy's, some of the biggest art hospitals, Stanford uses it for their corporate collections. And but it's also great fit for emerging artists and artists at every level of their career. So I'm going to go through a little bit about how you can work with both your organization account, and then I'll go into a little bit more later about how to track and why it's important to track your work and how you can do that. So I hope that it will be beneficial for everyone, regardless of, you know, where you are or what you're looking to get out of it. But if you get anything out of it, it's just how to keep track and why you want to keep track of it. But I know that you guys are all working with Rockville. So I'm going to work with Patrick here on these presentations here. But if you guys aren't already familiar, probably you already have worked with uploading your work into Rockville's account. And one of the great parts about the organization account is that you can easily collaborate with artists from anywhere. So instead of tons of emails and attachments and things getting lost, you can streamline that process and you can upload it right into their account, where they can then showcase your images, your profile, exhibitions, and curate works. But Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me a little bit more about how you guys are using it as well. So you can see here that you can upload that information, and I'll go into the details in a second, but I'd love to just hear your view on how you guys are using it as well.
Well, as I mentioned before, we really had a need to be able to have virtual shows, a way to solicit art, you know, our art calls from our individual members, that kind of thing. So we've kept it very simple. Behind the scenes, and what's something that our artist members don't see is when we have a jury process, I use some of the capabilities of Artwork Archive, either private rooms or portfolios, to share with our judge. And then the judge can look at those things remotely and make, you know, the initial jury selections, and even start in on any awards we might have. We also have the ability to share with individuals that have questions. The QR code labels are wonderful, and we love having them. I've pestered you about the printing of them before, but that's another topic. The QR code labels allow viewers to point their phone, and then the piece comes up, and if they want to ask a question about the piece, or better still, they want to purchase a piece, they can get that process going. We don't have the total e-commerce going. We just, if somebody wants to purchase it, we put the artist and the collector in contact, and then they work out the logistics.
Awesome. Yeah. And so I want to show here before we get to QR labels and all the things that are so fun, what does it look like and how can you upload it? And what does it look like on Rockville's side of things when you upload that work, which is so great, just becomes more and more powerful the more information you put in, and you're able to add that information then to your public profile, create labels, all these things. But let's start from the beginning. And at the start, this is what it'll look like on Rockville's account. So you can see here, once you've uploaded the works, and they can send you a link, and maybe some of you guys have already done this, but when you've gone through that link and uploaded your artwork, there's this whole profile that is created for you as an artist. So you can see your artworks, information about you, your bio, any exhibitions that you've been in, and it creates this really great log of how you guys have interacted and your history together. And I know, Patrick, you mentioned that Rockville, your account can maintain up to 1,000 artworks per year. So that's about worth of an exhibit, a year's worth of exhibits for the group. And then after time, you start purging that. So it's great. So you guys can keep uploading that artwork. And I know you guys are doing that. So it's great to maintain that database of what you guys are doing and see that and curate it and get together as a group and see that all together. And then going back to the start, for those who haven't seen this, this is what it will look like for artists who do not have an artwork archive profile or account. So Patrick or Lisa will send you a link. You click the link, you'll see this page. On this page, you can upload that information. And then when you've uploaded this information, that's what creates this record here that we just looked at. So this is what they're seeing, and this is what you're seeing over here. So you will add all this information here about your work, add images, title. The only thing that is recommended or required from the system is the title, but I know for Rockville, what is required, you guys need to upload your medium, dimensions, the price for those labels. So when you're going in there, make sure to fill out all those fields, and that makes it so that when Patrick or Lisa they are creating those labels, all that information is there for them, and they're just easily generated right from that system. And then also the description. So if you have something to say about the work, how it was created, you have a story behind it, add that description in there as well, and that will show up on those labels or anything else that they're generating. So you want to add that here. I believe you can go in and edit it, but make sure that you're doing it from the start. It's just a lot easier. You can also, from here, update your contact information, which you can see up here in this blue button next to this sample called Joanne. So right here, you can update anything that you guys might need to include for your contact information that's included in reports, but also just a great way for people to get in touch with you for your artist bio. So you can include your address, your social media links that would show up on your artist page, which I'll show you in a little bit as well. And then any contact information, and that's it. And then just make sure to click update.
Katie, I'm going to jump in here real quickly.
Great.
We actually enable the artist members who, are in good standing, i.e. they paid their dues for the year. Those are the people that are enabled, with the download, the upload link so that they can enter shows. So we maintain their information in the contact part of our organization account. When they pay their dues, we turn on the submission link and give them a password. And that's how they get to the screen that you were just showing. One other thing about, the amount of information you can put in, what we require, other than a nice, clear image, is, just the title, which is what you've already mentioned, but we want the medium, the dimensions, the sales price, or leave the sales price empty if it's not for sale. And that's what we require. If they put in a description, that's fine and good. But that can be a two-edged sword. If you have spelling errors or if it doesn't make sense, it can actually take away. So you need to be careful with what you put there. Just had to interject. Thank you.
No, I love it. Yeah, I like to hear. I love these meetings because there's like real practical back and forth. I know you guys have used it a bunch, so I love hearing that. And it's a good point. When you put that information in, be careful about it because it will get printed and be publicized from that description. And I know it would probably be a little bit of work for you guys to go through it. So that was previously the page if you don't have an Artwork Archive account. So this is what it would look like if you do have an Artwork Archive account. And
a personal artist account.
Correct. Yes. So there are a few different types of accounts within Artwork Archive that I'll go into in a few minutes. But this is one of those. You guys have an organization account as Rockville Art League, and then there are individual artist accounts. So this is if you do have an account. I'm not sure how many people do. I know Patrick, you do, but this is what it would look like when you get that link. You can then select the works that you want to include and add those quickly throughout it, so you don't have to type all that information in again, which is just another added benefit of having a system like that where you're being able to relate and upload that information directly into your organization account. I wanted to show here, if you guys haven't seen, this is an example of what the public profile for Rockville Art League looks like. There's a bunch of different views, but we can go through here. This is the main portfolio page, and then there are also artist page and exhibitions that maybe you guys have seen. So that showcases the artworks in each of the exhibitions, and this brings it online. So each of those artist pages tell you about each of you as an artist and what you've uploaded about yourself in those contact forms, and probably maybe some other information, I'm not sure. But then also exhibits all of those Rock League Art League shows online.
Like what we do, Katie, just so you know, is we send a link to the most current exhibition that we've got going. And when our artists click on that link, then it goes directly to the exhibition, and then they can look at all the pieces in that show, private rooms for award categories, and then sort by artist. Those other things you were just showing, they may have seen, but they probably weren't that likely to have gone into depth there because they're focused on the exhibition.
Gotcha. So I'll show a few more examples. So speaking of the exhibition, so there's a few different ways that you'll see your artist page. I think you guys do have the artist pages here. So your artist pages will be displayed. You'll have information, your bio here with the artworks that you've uploaded and that are made public on Rockville Art League. So this is an example of what an artist page would look like on the Rockville Art League organization account. And then a little different here, you can see this is the exhibition page when you select the artists that are featured within each exhibition. So you can see here the list of the artists that are featured, their artworks. And then when you click into that, then you would get that full artist bio, information about them, and be able to learn. Viewers can explore and learn more about the exhibit and learn more about you as an artist, your bio, and see any of the works that you've been that are featured within the exhibition on this page. And Patrick, I'd love to know more about how you guys are using portfolio pages within your organization account. I know you can create these portfolio and catalog pages within all of the accounts across Artwork Archive. For artists, and artist accounts, how we see them used is to present to a gallerist or a curator, prepare for a catalog or an exhibition, and submit to a portfolio or grant. And I believe you're using it to help curate exhibitions and submissions. So printing off that work and going through it, having your work right here when you've uploaded that work, it's great for them to be able to see the information associated with each of those artworks. But tell me a little bit more about your process for that.
Well, what we use it really for two things. One, we do the portfolio so that we can share all the art with our juror who makes a selection when they are jurying our show. and then later when they're selecting awards. We also use the portfolio page to actually print out what's going to be in the show, so that when someone comes in with their art, we can check them off, and they can sign off that they've dropped it, and then when they collect it, they can do that as well. There's more that we could do with these, and that's something we'll figure out.
Cool. And this is what we were talking about a little bit earlier, just those QR codes, the QR code labels and the artwork labels that I know you guys have used a bunch within Rockville Art League. So when you guys are uploading that information, you're making Patrick and Lisa's life hopefully easier, so they can create these labels with what you've uploaded, and then they can create a QR label back to each of your profiles or anything else. You can create a link on a QR code to a number of things, or create a link. So forgive me if I'm wrong about where you are directing that link, but you can create it so that it goes back to an exhibition. You can create it so it goes back to your unique artist page or any other link. So when people are going to a show, you can print these out. They'll be on the wall and people can learn more about you as an artist. And again, when you've gone through that upload, that's that information that you've uploaded there.
Yeah, where the QR code takes them is to the exhibition, but then from there, you can find out more about the piece and the artist.
Perfect. Yeah. And for artist accounts, I do want to say, and I know this is a little bit different, you can use that for a number of ways too. So I know a lot of artists use it to create labels to stick on the back of their paintings, and they can use that for personal inventory, or if you're creating it for a public show, you can then add that link to your public profile, and visitors can come and view and scan it and learn more about each of the artworks throughout that link on your label as well.
And I use that.
Perfect. Another feature that Rockville and you all use is the private rooms. And so this is a feature that's available on the organization and artist account. And this is a great way to be able to collaborate with a select group of people. And then also curate the works that are available and the information that's available between you both. So by default, all of your information that you upload to an artwork archive account is private. And one of the greatest parts that I love about it is that you can select which information, which pieces to make public, and to whom to make that work public. So it's really, you can really curate who you're communicating with and what they can see. And with a private room, you're in charge of all that information. So Rockville, you guys use it to curate works, and maybe you guys put the works together. But again, Patrick, let me know how you're using this. I'd love to hear.
Well, we've used it on occasion, when judges have asked for more. Every once in a while, I'll get a question from an individual member that says, can you show me the work that I've put in, this last year or in the last show, et cetera. And we can just quickly pull together a private room, shoot it off to them, and then they have it.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to do a little demo here in a minute and take time for questions. But if anyone has questions, I know it can be overwhelming or a lot of information to take in. So if anyone has questions as we go along about the difference between the Rockville account, an artist account, what you can do with each, please let me know. This time is for you, and I would love to be able to answer those questions for you while we're here live. So I would love to, don't be shy, ask questions. I love it. But I do want to show the difference between the different plan types. So you guys have, as Rockville Art League, you guys have an organization account that you guys are all able to upload your artwork to. And this is for art organizations like yours, nonprofits, corporate collections, galleries, who are managing a lot of different artworks and a lot of different artists. And there are two other type of plans, and one of those is the individual artist plan, which is for individual artists or professional artists or artists that are just starting out, if you're creating artworks, prints, showing them in different locations, and just looking to sell and manage your works more efficiently and also showcase them, that's an artist account, which I will be showing you a demo of in a few here. And then we also do have a collector plan for those who, I know a lot of artists are also art collectors. You know, I am. You meet people, we're all art aficionados. We also maybe have an art collection. So we have a collector account as well to track artwork from multiple artists. And it's a little bit different from the organization plan in that it is a little bit pared down and you can track those artists, but it doesn't have those exhibitions that you guys have. It doesn't have some of those other features that that organization plan has. All right, Patrick, is there anything else before I jump onto what an artist plan can do that you want to mention about working with the organization plan with your artists?
Well, you covered a lot. Thank you. And I know people's heads are probably swimming right now, but that's okay. You're giving everybody a taste of the vast capabilities. So keep going. I think this is great.
Can I jump in with a comment from people?
Please. Yeah.
Somebody wants to know right off, is this something that can be used to replace a personal website?
Yeah, I'll get to that. It depends on, so the answer is it depends on what your feelings or needs are for a personal website. So I'll get to this in a little bit, but I'll answer now, is that there's a public profile that is a templated online profile that you can use as kind of like a website mini. It doesn't have a ton of personalization. You can't add animations or tons of different pages or things like that. But for those that are just starting out, it works really well for them because they can showcase their work online, and they don't have to do a lot of coding. The other thing that I want to mention is that you can also embed that online profile into, or online gallery into, another website. So if you have an online website that you have a lot of personalization or different pages, you can embed that into your website. And then you don't have to upload your artwork twice. You don't have to add that information twice. So you're able to track it through Artwork Archive and display it through a website builder that has, you know, just a little more bells and whistles, if that's what you're interested in.
I personally have my artist personal account embedded with my Squarespace website, and it works great. I enter it once in Artwork Archive. I make it public. I tell it where to go on my, my Squarespace account, and it goes, and it's great.
Yeah, and it's so fun to see all the different websites that have this embed. A lot of people use it. It's very popular, and we can help you with that. So if that's something you're interested in, please reach out. If you have any trouble, we're here to help you with all of that. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. Well, I'll get started. Before even talking about the artist account, I want to talk about just tracking artwork. I know this might be basic information to you all, but it can't be emphasized enough just how important tracking this information about each of your artworks is. So are you guys, I'm always curious, is anyone using something currently to track their work? I know, Patrick, you are, but do people use an Excel doc, piece of paper, Google Files, Artwork Archive? Feel free to shout out if you're using anything, because I just love to get a feel for what people are currently doing to track this information.
I think that they don't have a process. They might have their own personal Excel spreadsheet or a list or paper list, but that's why I think a lot of people are interested. But we do see paper, Excel, people are saying that. One, if you want to comment right now from someone, they want to know, does it keep track of who purchased a piece and their contact information for future mailings? And I'm going to say, you're going to say you're going to talk about that now. Okay.
Yeah, so I see the chat now. Thank you. But yeah, so a lot of people start with Excel, and that's such a great place to start, right? And it is, so if you're keeping track of this work, it's such a great place to start, and we can actually help you import that Excel information. The difference between Artwork Archive and an Excel document is that Artwork Archive is what is considered a relational database. So once you have input that information, all of your records can then be related to other information within the system so that you're able to create those reports. That information goes into your contact records, which one person was asking about with those sales. So that information, once you make that sale on your artwork record, that is tracked within it, and all the information is related. So you'll see within that. So I'm going to go through, but even if you're still using Excel, this is some of the critical information to keep track of for that artwork. Title, date, medium, price of the artwork, high resolution of that work or a link to it, dimensions, and exhibitions that it's been accepted to, so that you can have that history. Because as we make more work, I know you guys are very prolific. You make a lot of work. You've been making work for a long time. We don't remember. So having that tracked is so essential, regardless of what you're doing. If you use Excel, this is just some critical information to still keep track of. And then also, as an individual accounts, we like to think of an archive. It's in our name. What is an archive? We think the archive is your story as an artist, and instead of something that is static in the past, archaic, it is something that we're continually contributing to as artists and creating a living archive of our stories and who we are as artists and how that contributes to our time in this world and our culture at the time. So our work is comprised of not only those basic details, but it's very full from other documents and sketches that we produce. So being able to document and preserve that helps to show and tell a full story of who you are and what that artwork means to you. So you're able to store and document your biographies, upload your resumes, and we recommend uploading multiple versions, your proposals. I love when people upload their process photos or sketchbooks. I think that's such a great way to store that associated with each of your works, especially in the future, to look back on that, and both for yourself or you're having a retrospective, to have those associated with each of those works. And having any of those awards or affiliation groups that you have, so associating those awards with each work, that makes your work just more relatable as a collector, and then also more valuable as well. So you're able to show this whole story behind just one work when you're talking about it with a collector, and that's what people gravitate towards and want to cling on to, and it makes your work just more valuable to collectors. So I also love it for that. I think there's also, for me, I like to use it. I'm a ceramic artist. I always forget which glazes I'm using. On a very practical scale, I add to my notes what I'm using or what I'm thinking about at the time. Are there news stories going on at the time that I'm thinking about? Are there something going on in cultural events that I'm thinking about? So you can look back on that, and then maybe in a year or two, you go back and you revisit what you're thinking, and you can retrace that and have that affect your current work. Oops. You can also track your locations or where your work is. And I know that this is especially important the more work you are making. I, for one, I am not an organized person by nature. I don't know, maybe you guys are. My desktop before Artwork Archive was folders on top of folders on top of folders. And I'd need 5 different external hard drives to find an image for one person. It would take me a very long time, and it was very, very, very stressful. I also was not great at keeping track of where my work is, and I would receive what I called surprise checks, which I felt like was free money because I didn't know that I had forgotten my work for years at a certain gallery, and I would get a check. But we should be tracking where our work is so that our galleries are working for us. We know where our work is. Our gallery can work for us. And then ultimately also, we don't want to double sell our work. I know that happens as well. We get so many artists who accidentally have a work at a gallery, but then also have it online and it's sold, but then someone else tries to buy it. And so we're trying to treat this as a professional experience and also cut down stress for ourselves. So keeping track of where that is helps with both of those aspects. This is what someone was asking about earlier. This is a contact record. So you can create contact records within Artwork Archive. And what we love about this is that beyond a just direct checkout experience, maybe on Amazon or something like that, or Etsy, where you never interact with that artist. This is about creating a relationship with that artist. So you have their information. You can know when you've contacted them, you can email them. And so say you have sold a work to them in the past that was a still life or maybe a horse, for an easy example. And you know they love horses. So you just created a new horse painting and you know that you have a record that they've have purchased a lot of horse paintings in the past. You can email them with your new works. And we truly believe that your current customers are your future customers. And those are the people that are there for you. People are gravitated and they want to buy your future work. I know, like, I have a few artists that I cannot get enough. And once you find an artist that you like, you want to know from them. So this is a great way to communicate with collectors throughout the system as well. I'll show a little bit more about the reports, but I know it can be overwhelming to enter all that information into a system. And we do have that import system from Excel, but it can still be overwhelming for where to get started. And we've talked about it. I'm going to show you a little bit about what you get out of it and what some of the fun things once you've put that information in. Instead of working with InDesign or Photoshop or anything like that, I'm a designer and I still don't even want to spend an hour on each report. These take 2 seconds. So once you have the information in there, you can select each of your photos and which information to include in each of the reports. And then you can easily create any of these reports that are on here. So inventory lists, price lists, catalog pages, we showed a little bit earlier, certificate of authenticity, those labels, and you can get a number of other reports. The income and expense report is great at tax time for those who do the taxes by themselves, where you can ship that off to an accountant if you are someone like me who doesn't want to deal with it. So you can just send that off. It makes their life a lot easier, makes your life, my life, it makes everyone's life a lot easier, so you don't have to have a trash bag full of receipts. This is an example of what that public profile would look like when someone was asking about what a website would look like. This is a profile example on Artwork Archive. So you would have this page and it goes on to what we call the discovery platform, where any artist who's chosen to make their work public and have a public profile is featured on the discovery platform. And we do a lot to promote this work, and we do a weekly newsletter featuring artists. We do articles on the artists. We have a big social media following that we feature artists and get them interacting with different collectors. And it's just such a unique intersection between artists, collectors, and art organizations that art organizations, hospital collections, corporate collections, they're looking at this and they're contacting artists on the discovery platform. And it's a great way for you to have that exposure with these groups of people. And now I'm going to do a quick stop. And then if anyone has any questions while I'm stopping, let me know, because I know I can talk for a long time. So
I'm gonna share something, Katie, while you're pulling that up.
Sure.
One of the things that was so intimidating for me was all of this stuff. And the first time I went on and I saw all these empty fields to fill in, I didn't know that there was the download, but whatever. That's what turned me off the first time. But then when I went back in, I realized that it's up to you what you put in. All you really have to do is have a title and the image, and then the record is created. And then you can come back when you have the other information and add it, and when you have time, but you're already getting value. And it's the same with our organization account. We ask for just those minimum things, the image, the title, the price, the dimensions, and the medium, and then we're off to the races. So.
Yeah, and I do recommend that, especially if you are not sure, you're just stuck. Just enter the title. I also recommend starting, if you are getting started with a new project, working from your most recent works and working backwards, not trying to do it all at the same time. You can upgrade as you go and have more works available, but just starting and setting aside an hour or two every Friday or something where you have just a few hours where you can upload that information is going to get you pretty far. And then we do have a lot of, I'm going to include in the slide resources some worksheets and ways to go about thinking and organizing, just if you're at the start of the project, that really help when you're starting to get that information organized. Yeah. I'm just pulling up a demo account 1 second. Can you guys see that screen now?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So you can see here, this is what an account looks like. This is an example account for what it looks like when you log in and you already have pieces uploaded. So I'm going to walk you through some of the basics of how to upload that information and what it would look like if you're uploading works to the system for the first time. So this is your main pieces view. There's a number of ways to view this information. This is a grid view here, so you can see all of these works. You can also view your works in a list, so you can see a little bit more information here. This is the grid view here, so it's even more condensed. It's more like an Excel view, so you can see that information in that way. And then also a gallery view if you're on an iPad or something out in town and you want to do a view here, so you can view them in a number of different ways. And this is when you have all that information uploaded. I like to have the list view so I can see that information and the works about it. There's a number of other things here that I love and is very important to note that makes it easier than Excel. So you can sort and filter by number of criteria. So unlike Excel where you can just sort by a number of things, you can filter really easily. So you can come here. This is our filter bar here. So you can see all of your works that are available or sold or donated or gifted here. Maybe you're looking for works that were just in a certain gallery. You can quickly see they're not there right now. Works that you've created within a certain date or added within a certain date makes it very easy to just categorize that information. Or if you're working with different mediums, or you might be able to, you might want to just see all of your acrylic works that are 18 by 24. And then you can select both of those filters and get a list of those works here. So this is a great way to, once you have a big inventory of works, find those works and drill down and see what it is, what that you're searching for. And you can also sort by a number of criteria here as well. So you'll input this information so you can sort by title, price, inventory number, size, and then see that list as it goes down so that if someone is looking for, you know how we mentioned earlier, having a million folders on your desktop or maybe on another desktop or on a flash drive, you don't have to do that anymore. You can just find it. And you can very quickly find anything that you're looking for. I've done some crazy searches and you can find it. And it's very fun to do that. You can also So I'm going to show you how to upload it really quick too, and what that would look like if you don't have a work. This is the individual artist. This is the individual artwork upload screen. You can see here a lot of fields. And again, I want to emphasize, you just have to upload the title and an image. Highly recommend that high resolution image. One of the greatest things about this system is that when you upload, we'd recommend uploading your high resolution image up to 30 megabytes. So, and that's stored within the artwork record and automatically downsized for those reports, for the web, for anything that you are using to communicate. But it's also stored on this record. So if you're looking for that later, that original image link will be on the record. So you can download that or easily include it on reports. So if you're working with a gallery that needs a high resolution image for press, you can easily share that without Dropbox or something like that. Send them a link. They can download it right from there. You don't have to spend 20 minutes as it uploads to Dropbox, and then you send it and then they upload it. It makes your life so much faster if you're doing it a lot, and then just so easy to do. So there's a number of fields here. Again, you don't have to include all the information, but the more information that you do include, the more powerful the system becomes, because then you can sort, filter, include it on your profile, put it on a report, have that information. You can select which of these fields to make public or include on any of the reports. So you can include so much information or just a little. Price, wholesale price, these descriptions that we're talking about. Cancel here.
We use the location record a lot. And that's how we keep track of work coming in for various shows. We have a year's worth of shows in the system. We use locations to say it's the winter show or, you know, the sunflower show or whatever.
Yeah.
And we also use collections when we send to our judges, like if it's going to be oils and acrylics, watercolors, you know, because they judge by the type of art. And that's how we sort for the judge for a juried show.
Awesome. I love hearing what you guys are using. And I want to show now what a completed artwork record could look like within the system. So once you've uploaded that work, you can see what a record would look like within the system. This is an example. You can see that it's sold. You can make that sale information here. That would also create that contact record. You can see if it's gone to shows over time, and you can create a history of that and build the provenance of that artwork record, just making that artwork more valuable over time. You can also add provenance notes if it's sold to people and then changed hands over time. That's very important. If for some people, not all the time, you can also check your artwork history or your exhibition history and see which exhibitions that has been a part of. Build that, where's it gone, create that CV and keep track of it, because we just don't remember this as it goes on, and it just creates such a rich history of each of these works. You can add any publications that has been in part of as well. I don't know if anyone's working in editions or reproductions, but you can add if you're making prints of the work, so you can keep track of those prints very easily. You can say, hey, I made 10 or 100 prints of this, and keep track of those works. Within certain accounts, I think it's professional and master, you can add additional files. So you can add, I always recommend adding installation shots of everything. Get great installation shots. They are gold. So if you have your work in a Rockville Art League show, go. If you aren't a great photographer yourself, have a friend who's a great photographer or hire someone who's a great photographer and take great installation shots of your work. It is great to see this work in the situation and in an exhibition, and I always recommend uploading them here. This is the original image file link that I was talking about. So if I click here, I can see any of the original images that I've uploaded. I can view them, download it for myself. I can also share it or just copy that URL and share it to with anyone so they can download it. And you can also include this in a number of reports as well. So you can have that high resolution image. So nice. And you can include expenses. So if you are trying to get a real sense of what your pricing is, I recommend this. So if you don't really know if you're pricing things correctly, or maybe you want to have just a better understanding of where money is going, keeping track of your expenses as they are tied to an individual work. Maybe you're working with a fabricator, or you framed it, or you have a really expensive material. You can keep track of that within each artwork record, and then on a larger scale as well, which we might not have time to go into today, but you can get in a sense of if you're pricing correctly and if you're making a profit, if you need to increase your pricing, which I always recommend, but you can get a real sense of, how things are going. This is the additions. I don't have too much time. So is there something people really we have a bunch of features over here on the left. Maybe people are interested in the profile. If I have just 10 more minutes.
You could share some on the profile, and maybe you could talk a little bit more about discovery, if you could.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is what the profile, when you're setting it up, would look like. And when you're going through, those artworks are pulled, and you can choose which information and which works to make public. So if you go to public pieces here, you can go down and you can again filter by those same criteria, but then you can go and select which works to make public or not make public. So you can select it really easily here. You can also, in your public settings, choose which information to make public. So say you don't want to show prices at all, or you do want to show prices. I can make that information public or not. And so this is a great way. You can have that information just for yourself or make it public. Here, you can also choose how many images to display per page. And you can show collections, which we didn't get into, but it's basically a way to group your works in any type of groupings that you prefer. Say you have like a blue series or portraits or people, sketches. You can make those collections, and then you can make those collections as a separate page on your public profile, and then also on your embedded profile as well. You can add a little bit about yourself through a biography. You can upload your statement, and then you can also upload your resume. And then you can preview your public profile over here. If I go to view profile, so I can see this profile here. So this is our example profile. And there's a number of ways that they can be displayed. You can have a hover too, or different things. But you can see here that this would be an example of the profile. And going through here, you can see the little short social links. Someone can message me. If I'm going to look at a work as a viewer, I can inquire about that work. I can ask to purchase that work, or I can share it on social. And this is an optional one as well. These are the collections I was talking about. So this is just kind of like a random smattering of collections, but you can have this anything in that. And then if you go to discovery, discovery is where any artist who has chosen to make their profile public, or art organization like you guys or collectors can make their artworks available on the discovery platform, where those artists and art collectors and art organizations are going to view artworks and communicate with each other. So it's great to view. This is one of my favorite parts of the job. I just get to see these and then profile them, and it's really fun. So there's tons of work on here. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this one. So you can see there's different ways to profile it, add information. Kind of fun.
And as a user of Artwork Archive, and if you go into Discovery, you can search by artist, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Discovery is just everybody that's on Artwork Archive, right?
That has a public profile, right?
Yeah.
So you can search by name or where they are here. And then there's also filters. So people can search by medium, price. Here, if they're looking for, I'm redoing a house right now, and I've been using it a lot to find certain size works within a certain price range. And I like a certain type of medium, so like a certain painting here. And I found a lot of great work. It's been really fun. And so this is also an open search. So if people are looking for maybe just portrait here, you can see all the portraits that have been uploaded here. And that's through tags, or it's fully searchable through description as well.
And in Discovery, people can go in and see exhibitions that have been hosted by the Rockville Art League. Correct?
I believe so.
Yeah. I know you're about to run here, but I had another question, and it has to do with uploading work. Individuals uploading their work into our artwork archive account. For our juried show.
Okay.
Right now, they go in, they load the things that we say are important to load, and then they hit submit. And then it goes and we see it in our organization account, and that's great. We're off to the races. But right now, if somebody wants to edit something they put in, say they put in a price of 200 and they should have put in 400 or whatever, there's not a way for an individual artist after the fact, after it's been submitted, to go in and make edits, correct?
No, not unless they have a login to that account. So
like an administrator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Has there been any thought of creating that functionality that would let a submitter, make changes after the fact, or would that be too many worms in a can to open up?
You know what? I can bring it up, but I can see a lot of potential issues with it, especially if you've already approved something and someone has access to edit information that you've made public after the fact. There's just a lot of security issues with that, or information that maybe you've already published it and then you have a disgruntled person who wants to change all the information it's already public that you haven't approved. So it could happen. I'll bring it up. I'm not specifically on the organization team, so I can bring it up with them and see how they feel. I'm on the artist side of things, so I can bring that up to them. But I think there might be some loopholes, but I could see how it would be beneficial.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions really fast. I know you have to leave, but can you produce mailing labels from a client list if you have a private account?
You can create address labels. So I can go in here really quick. So this is the report section here. Mm-hmm. And this is where you can create reports. You can also create them from your artwork directly, but you can create a number of those reports that I was talking about here. I can show you an inventory list as well. I love that one. But you can create address labels here. Uh-huh. Let me see if I have, so you can also sort. So let me see, filter by address label here. So you can see an example. And then I can print these off into some sticky labels and create address labels for my contacts.
Okay, that's great. And another question was, how compatible is it with other uploading sites for other shows? Sandy, if you want to clarify, or you understand the question there? Let's see.
A different organization had a different place that you're supposed to upload something, your entry for the show.
Uh-huh.
On Artwork Archive?
Or through a different?
No, through a different, it was a cafe was the site. And so can you easily export to a different upload situation? Does that make sense?
Kinda. So what are well, it would depend. I guess I have a lot of follow-up questions, because what would you be trying to, it would depend on what you're uploading into Cafe. Is it those raw images, or what that upload would look like?
Whatever is required for a different art show. Mm-hmm. All of the information that I've already supposedly entered in Artist Archive, can it easily translate to the other upload place? Does that make sense now?
It makes sense to me. Maybe I can help you, Sandy, a little bit. you know, every organization has their own shows and their own protocol for entering information. We use Artwork Archive. Every one of our members has a contact, an individual contact, and we enable those downloads. But other organizations can use Cafe, and there's probably a dozen other entry forms. Jot form is one that we used to use, but we got rid of, but other organizations still use it. So I guess, Sandy, the question is there a way that you could grab the information on a piece that you've got in your personal Artwork Archive account and somehow use that into one of these other entry programs without having to retype everything? I think that's the question.
Exactly. But I would also say that I would assume that I need my own personal Artist Archive account. And I'm asking if I had my personal Artist Archive account, if I can export that information.
Okay. Yeah, no, I get it. No, there's not a direct integration with Cafe or an upload site like that. So I think the main benefit from having Artwork Archive or something like that is when you're looking for work to upload to Cafe, you would know and have access to those images really quick, and you would know where that's organized. So you'd have that inventory of your work, the information about it, the price, all that information, and you would be able to upload it into Cafe. There's not a direct integration where you could just click one button because there are, you know, a zillion different platforms for uploading for calls. So there isn't a direct integration yet. It's not even something we've been considering at this point, but I think it is interesting, and I think it would be cool.
But the good thing is that if you've got your record in Artwork Archive and you want to grab the image so that you can later paste it into Cafe or whatever, you can pull it over onto your desktop, and there it is. It's available to use.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying is like it's a great way to, if you're saying maybe I'm applying for a residency or something and I want to look at my best works, I'll go into Artwork Archive, filter by a certain type of work. Say it's an environmental residency, I'll look at my works that would be applicable to what they might be interested in, and I can filter by those works, and then I have all those images right there for me, can download them or put them on my desktop or just add them there, and then I have all the information as well. So it makes the whole process faster for applying for that, and then being able to just visually see that work as well when you're submitting a portfolio of works or a number of works to a grant or something like that. I've been on both sides of grants. So seeing your work together, you can visualize it within Artwork Archive, see all that information, and be able to put that into an application, say on Cafe.
Katie, I'm looking at my watch. We're already kept you 5 extra minutes.
Okay.
Past your hour. I know you've got a board meeting to run to. Thank you for giving people a taste of Artwork Archive.
Thank you.
If you could turn off your share, I'm gonna continue with our meeting just to share a couple more things about the show, the jury show that's coming up.
Sure. And I'll share these slides with you guys. There's some more resources at the end. And then if you have any questions, we're available. We're real people who have done this, you know, for ourselves as well. Feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And I'll send these to Patrick and Lisa as well. And thank you to all of you for showing up today on a late, dark Thursday. So I appreciate it and your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. So, folks, so I think we're going to end up losing Katie. Katie, thank you again. She's probably already gone. But I'd like to just share a couple of quick things about the show that's coming up. Katie has discussed a lot of things today, and you know, some are important and some are relevant to us, and some are perhaps for, you know, some future use. But I want to make sure that there's not a confusion between an individual account and our organization account. The individual account is something that you could personally use and that would help you stay organized. Our organization account is what we use to host our shows, solicit work, our call for entries, print labels, etc. So they are very different things. Since I have both, since I have my own account and I'm an administrator of Artwork Archive, I see the similarities, which are very helpful. As far as entering work into our show, there are just a very few number of things that are absolutely essential. You've got to have a title, and that's something that actually Artwork Archive requires. You've got to have a good image of your artwork. And that makes a difference because our judge is going to see that. And Lisa looks through all these. I look through some of them. If we reach out and say, it's a little bit fuzzy, or that reflection is getting in the way, and I don't care about your couch, we may ask you to do another shot, and it's to your benefit. It'll help you get into a show. And our shows are very competitive. So what do we need? We need the image. We need the title. We need the medium. And when you pick the medium, you can type in what you want. Every medium that an artist has put in is up for grabs in a pick list, but don't get intimidated. If it's oil on canvas, you can either find oil on canvas and click it, or you can just type in oil on canvas. So, but medium is required. Dimensions. If you've got a 2D piece, a painting, just give us the size and the height and the width. I don't want to see the width. I'm sorry, height, length, and height. I don't want the width. I don't want you to tell me that your canvas is 3/4 of an inch thick. I want to know that it's 18 inches by 24 inches.
May I interject? It's height and width is what we would like. Depth is for people who enter sculpture. Some people have sculptural paintings, but those are like 5 or 8 inches and they're unique. Please, we see often 1/10 of an inch, the depth. We don't want that. We want height and width. It slows us down. I have to go in and edit every time. I know we love
Patrick.
Okay.
Before, I'm going to get back to you in just a second, but I just want to finish this list. Price. Give us the price that you want to sell it for, and don't fool with wholesale price. That doesn't mean anything to us. At your option, you can enter a description of your piece, but like I mentioned earlier, that's a double-edged sword. I mean, if you got a good, insightful description, people can see it and might encourage them to buy it. But if it's all over the place, it's going to scare people away. Don't put in other information. I don't care when you were born. You can put in the date your piece was created, but I don't want to see circa August 25th, 2023. Please don't do that. It just confuses things. So that's the main information we want. Medium, price, size, good clear image, obviously the title. Sandy, I think you had a question. Somebody did.
Is the size of the finished piece that's showing, or including the frame? It seems to vary from place to place. That's why I ask.
For ours,
we asked Lisa. Why don't you jump in on that?
For ours, it's you can do both. So when you enter originally, it's just the piece, and then there's a little section where you can click framed, so you can do both. But we just require the original piece. Like if you have a watercolor, if it's 8 by 10, put that. You do not have to put the frame size unless you would like to, and it's fine if you do. Yeah. Some people just put the frame size and they click it, and then when we go in to look at dimensions, we can't see it. So you can just fill in dimensions, height and width. That's appreciated.
Yeah. And by the way, these dimensions are we asked for that for a couple of reasons. First reason is when Lisa's curating the show, it's helpful for her to know whether pieces are an average size, a small size, or a gigantic size. So that has to do with how many we can accept. Additionally, if a collector has seen your work either online or in the gallery and they want to be reminded of the size, it's there for them.
Is that size limits Is that the size of the painting or the size including the frame?
Oh, for the size limit, we
The 48 inches?
Yeah.
It's the size of the frame, because that will take up a lot of space if it goes over that. So that's the only case. When it's getting to the maximum size, please, consider the frame there.
Okay.
Yes.
And if you have a question, you can reach out to Lisa or me, and we'll help you with that. I have just a couple more notes before I let you go, and it's for our audience that'll be looking at the recording here. If you're entering work into our show, or any show for that matter, please read the call for entry. I mean, the information is sometimes the same show after show, but it's always important. And if you don't read it, it can be a problem. Pay attention to, no wet paint. You got to put a wire on the back, that kind of thing. And very importantly, are the dates. Lisa, you were going to say something.
So the show call looks the same from basically. However, as we get the same questions from people over and over, we try to clarify it, and we try to add the anticipated questions that we get frequently. So please do read it. If it's hard to read online and you have access to a printer, just print it out and underline things. And if you have questions, please ask ahead of the deadline. You really hate getting an emergency email at 9:30 at the deadline night. You may be disappointed because I don't do email at night. This is an exception. Me on a Zoom at night. I just don't. Okay. So ask me by 6 o'clock at night. Okay.
And Lisa's mentioned deadlines. They're very important. Our deadline of November 1st for, our upcoming juried show, on November 2nd, we're sending that off to the judge so that he can have adequate time to go through it and make sure that, he's, jurying the right ones and selecting things for awards. Important date, drop-off. Our drop-off date often coincides with the last show's pickup date, and the work has to be there. And it takes Lisa time to curate it. For our juried shows, the judge often comes the afternoon of the pickup date to make his final award selections. So you got to do that. Pay attention to that drop-off date. Pickup date, very important, because again, we're coordinating with the next show coming in. And if you don't pick it up that day, we don't know what to do with it, because we don't have a lot of storage space at Glenview Mansion that's really safe. We have a closet, but it's very small, and we don't like stacking things up. So please pay attention to those things. And if you can't do it, you can probably arrange with another member to drop off or pick up for you. And if there's an emergency, let Lisa or I know so that we can try to work something out for you. We want to take care of our members, and we want our shows to be great. About entering our show and getting an entry, we'll get over 200, maybe 250, as many, for 110 to 120 spaces in the gallery. So our shows are very, very selective. And if you enter our show and then you're accepted, we really expect you to bring the piece. And by the way, if you're accepted, that means that there's someone else who was perhaps juried out that didn't have an opportunity to share. So it's really unfortunate, and it's really sad if you put your work in, you get accepted to the exclusion of others, and then you don't bring it in. So please don't do that to us. And Lisa, what have I left out?
That's about it. We really appreciate all of you being so conscientious and considerate and professional. So we always look to seeing your work. We get the opportunity to see it before it shows up, get it ready for the judge. And we always want you to look your best for the judge. And then when we get to see the work in person, we are just overwhelmed. It's great. So
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And talk about beautiful shows. I'd like, before I sign off, we've got two things that are coming up in the gallery before our jury show. One day left, tomorrow, Friday, ×5. And Lisa's holding up the show card.
You see it if I talk? Have you seen ×5 yet? It's the last day tomorrow. It's by the 5 talented Einstein High School art teachers who are quite inspiring. Wouldn't you have loved to have been their student? When you see their artwork, if you've seen it already, you go, oh my gosh. The creative energy that's in the gallery right now just knocks you out. So,
and by the way, all 5 of them are members of the Rockville Art League as well.
Yeah.
A couple of them are new members, so that's great. We're so glad to have them.
Open 9 to 4:30 tomorrow. So go to Glenview. If you haven't already, be sure to.
And next week, Lisa and I are putting up another show, also by, it includes members of the Rockville Art League. It's called Fairweather Artists, and there are 11 of us. And we're gonna, we applied, with the city of Rockville. We were granted the space. It's going to be another great show. And then following that, it's going to be our jury show. So thank you all for dialing in. It was a small group today, but I know many people looked at the recording. And thank you again for coming. And I look forward to seeing your entries for our upcoming jury show. Thank you. Thank you.
It sounds like a great product.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining in.
Bye.
Bye now.